Another hot one. Shit up. I'm waiting for
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to have your company right across Australia, New Zealand, wherever you're watching from around the world. My name is Isaac Foggy, and it is my absolute honour to welcome you this evening to the first round of AGT's GT7 GT3, so that 2 times fast, Season 8 Championship. We are proudly sponsored by Precise Lubrication this evening, a new sponsor on board to help bring these broadcasts to you. And as I said, my name is Isaac Foggy, and I'm very glad to be back in the booth this season for what is set to be an absolutely cracking season of racing. We've got 8 rounds coming your way across the next 8 weeks. So race a week, look forward to that. Joining me this evening is a man that is very, very experienced in the world of commentary, but yet to dive into and delve into the world of Gran Turismo 7. His name is Jared Cole, and if you watch a lot of iRacing broadcasts in Australia, you may know him as the man behind Simple Racing Broadcast. Jared, welcome into the booth. It's a pleasure to have you here tonight, and getting your first experience in the world of Gran Turismo 7.
And I am so excited to be here. Good evening, everybody. Great to be on board for this opening round. Yeah, look, GT7, you're right. I specialize in iRacing most of the time. It's just the way it's been for my commentary career, let's call it. But I've always envied the GT3s and GT7 for a couple of reasons. One, it's just such a good-looking game, and it's something that for all of the amazing physics and car models and track laser scans that iRacing does have, it doesn't have the graphics engine behind it that something like GT7 does. And then you get into the actual range of cars, the licensing that GT7 does bring with it. There's a couple in particular. I'll be honest, I'm a bit of a Skyline fan, so I'm hoping to see a few of those out on track tonight. But I'm so keen to check this out and get underway with you here tonight, Isaac.
Yeah, I'm absolutely stoked to have you here, Jared. Obviously, yeah, you're very experienced, so hopefully we can bring some of that wealth of knowledge and experience to the GT3s we see tonight. I'm really hoping there's some GTRs out there, some Skylines for you this evening. Let's have a look at where we are for round one. And it is one of the newer circuits to Gran Turismo. It is Gilles Villeneuve here in Canada, and it is an absolutely magnificent circuit. It looks great in this game as well, as you spoke about, Jared. The graphics, you can see some of the shots in the background of this as we opened up the broadcast. It just looks absolutely fantastic. 4.3 kilometers, 14 corners for our drivers to navigate tonight. Just almost 1.2 kilometers of straight on the run down towards that final chicane. So a long time and plenty of opportunity, I should say, for drivers to get in the slipstream and look for an overtake into that final chicane. 22 laps ahead of our drivers this evening, 96 kilometers in total, and a required tyre of the soft tyre. So if you're new here, every round our drivers will have a required tyre that they have to use at some point in the race. And that this evening is the soft tyre. Obviously, soft, medium, and hard compound tyres available for our drivers. And very excited for that. Jared, obviously, you would have seen the Gilles Villeneuve circuit on iRacing before. So a circuit that you're probably relatively familiar with. You're looking forward to seeing the drivers around here tonight?
Absolutely. You know, it's surprising. It's one of those tracks that I don't think gets anywhere near enough visibility and enough use in iRacing, much less anywhere else. It's a really challenging track. It doesn't look like it on paper, but particularly in a GT3 car, that long back straight into that very tight chicane is such a challenging bit of racetrack to negotiate, particularly given that this is not a particularly wide track. It's actually fairly narrow. There's not much in the way of runoff. You've got a lot of walls very close to the track, and so any small mistake can be absolutely magnified by the impact of, you know, just sliding a little bit off your braking line, or indeed making contact with another car alongside you at the wrong moment. It's going to be interesting to see how the drivers handle that this evening.
It certainly will be. We're going to keep a very close eye on that. As we said, a relatively new track to Gran Turismo, so something I'm sure there's still a few drivers out there getting their head around exactly how this track works. Let's have a look. So 2 divisions coming your way tonight, the first of which will be Division 2. Obviously, Division 1, our staple division, will be wrapping up the broadcast later on, so that'll be our second race of the evening. Division 2 up first. This is how qualifying looks after 10 minutes of laps around the Gilles Villeneuve circuit, and it is Greeny, Rowan Green on pole for Hooncourt with a 36.7. Look at those lap times between the top three. It is very close indeed. So Rowan Green, Porsche GT, Jaden DeWitt on the front row together for Hooncourt and Race Asylum respectively. Then it's Sid Roosters and Aussie F1 sharing the second row of the grid. Aussie F1, one of our reserve drivers this evening, as indicated by the little RES next to his name. BBL Kazoo and PB Nelson on row number 3. Then Lagoon and Unchained Chief on the 4th row. Water Arrow for Defy Motorsports and La Palmans for FR Racing on row number 5. Then it's Sparks and Prometheus, row number 6. Look at the times between some of these drivers, just how close this qualifying session has been. And then Arnie and Puma GT on row 7. HB Motor and CS Packer round out the back of the grid. 16 cars in this evening. And looking at that, those top guys, as we mentioned, very close times, which is wonderful to see that the balance of power is doing its job.
That's always the challenge in GT3 racing. The cars are so evenly matched, and particularly at a circuit like Gilles Villeneuve, it's so critical to nail every single corner because there's really so few of them where you can gain any time if you do make an error through one. If you just miss an apex, you just clip a curb a little bit too hard. What we're going to see tonight, I'm sure, is a very close couple of opening laps as everyone tries to establish a bit of a racing line through this circuit. I think it's going to be a real challenge, given how close these drivers are in terms of times at various points throughout the grid. I expect to see some pretty bold overtaking moves, which is going to be just about the only way anyone does make progress through this field tonight.
Yeah, well, here's hoping, especially in this corner here on screen now, the hairpin down the bottom, we see some Very bold overtaking moves. Well, that's really enough of beating around the bush, isn't it? We should get down to the track for the action. The cars are almost underway for this first race, so let's jump down to the grids. Here we are, your pole sitter, Rowan Green, going to lead us away to get Season 8 of Adrenaline GT's GT7 GT3 series, and we have a green flag on race number 1. Rowan Green, a great start for him. Down, obviously a rolling start, so a little bit spread out here. These drivers, as they come down towards the first few corners, navigating this very well at the moment. No one really side by side. We've got cars side by side in the background, actually. That is Sparks and Prometheus. Prometheus caught on the outside line. He's going to have Arnie for company now as they run up towards turn 4 for the first time. Heavy on the brakes. Look at these cars trying to get through. The liveries look great. Sideways for Arnie through that corner. And very loose indeed. And I think that's just a lack of traction control. Cold tyres. We've got cars side by side in the background. A couple cars we call rubber banding, as it were, in the background. We've got a car on the wall as well. Who is that? That is G. McLean for CP Motorsports, is facing the wrong, actually driving the wrong way at the moment. We'll have to flick that around and get running again, but it is Rowan Green that leads the way off the start from Porsche GT, from Sid Roosters, and Mozzie is off to a really good start as well in the 81 car. So a strong start for our pole sitter, our two front row drivers actually getting away really well, but Mozzie here under pressure from BVL Gazoo as they run down the back straight.
This is the start that they absolutely needed, because with all of these straights here at Gilles and Villeneuve, what you're going to see, and Gazoo is about to show us exactly what this looks like. Have a look at the slipstream and just how close that gets him up behind Mozzie there. Really have to take advantage of that in the GT3 cars. And look at the incident there, Mozzie backwards, and everyone does get through safely, but it's still early days and those tyres just not quite up to temp yet, are they?
No, and it's a very bold place to go for an overtaking move on the inside at that hairpin, and deep under brakes, water arrow into turn 1 on the Palmans, gets that move done, and that was a textbook overtake there. Beautiful move indeed. I couldn't have said that better myself. Very textbook, and yeah, very disappointing for Mozzie to be all the way back down that the back of the field. But again, that is the nature, as you said, cold tyres early on, and unfortunate for him. He's got plenty of race left to work his way through. Just trying to look through the field at what everyone's on in terms of tyres here early. It looks like most of our front runners on the soft tyre. Now, you'll have to, I don't believe iRacing deals in multiple compounds when it comes to dry tyres. I believe it's just dry and wet. So soft, medium, and hard tyres are something that yourself may not be overly used to the strategy in that sense.
We do have a few models on iRacing that do have different tyre compounds, but it's effectively limited to a few of the Formula cars, and not many of them at that. It tends to be just the F1 cars and really not a lot else. So yeah, tyre compound is a little bit foreign. We have covered over on Simple a little bit of Assetto Corsa racing, which does deal in compounds. And it really can turn the tide of a race, can't it? The selection of that compound early on. 22 laps, it's not a huge amount of distance. You tell me, how long are you expecting these drivers to get out of a soft tyre around here?
Oh, look, it's a tough call. You know, we're two laps in, they're already starting to wear. I would suspect they would get around 10 laps out of a tyre here. So a soft to medium strategy might be the way to go. If they can look after these tyres in the early stage, extend this stint, we definitely could look at a two-stop on the softs. I don't believe there is any rule that has been instituted about using two separate compounds, but there just is the mandatory compound. So as long as they use the mandatory compound, they tick that box, and they are A-OK in the eyes of the stewards. So we could see, potentially, as this race goes on, drivers looking after their tyres to get away with the soft to soft stop, and that would pay dividends at the back end of this race.
Really tough to manage though. If you're talking about 10 laps out of a soft tyre, maybe, let's say you stretch it to 11, that means at the end of the race, you're going to be on some absolutely dead rubber. And that's not where you want to be at a time where you're probably going to have people trying on some very, very aggressive moves to pick up that last extra position. You don't really want to be on tyres that are on their last legs. So some decisions here to make for these drivers as to what strategy they do take there.
That's right. Well, Mozzie's just come into the lane very early on in the piece. So he's decided to get a stop done early. He's on a fresh set of softs. That may also be due to the fact that he was carrying damage. So that will be this will be a 2-stop race. He will not get to the end on that soft tyre. Look at this train of cars that we have down the back straight on the run towards the final chicane now. And they've not really been able to separate. Big slide. Almost ended up heavy in the wall there. Rowan Green has walked away with this a little bit. Hasn't got the fast stuff of the race. That belongs to BVL Gazoo at this early stage. But Rowan Green just giving himself a little bit of breathing room. We've got tyres squealing in the background. So I can hear the tyre squeal as they are throwing these cars through the corners. Just trying to keep up. I don't think that anyone's thinking about tyre conservation at this stage of the race.
Absolutely throttling those tyres, getting every little bit of grip out of them and making a bit of a charge up through the field. Has been on the back of Sid Roosters for a couple of laps now. Hasn't quite found a corner exit that's given him enough pace to set up a braking move, but this is where you need to be. Tuck in behind that rear wing, get in the slipstream, get those extra few Ks an hour and get right up in behind before you hit some of these hard braking zones. Just try and establish yourself alongside, because it really is the only way you're going to get it done here at Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, it's, again, as you said, those heavy braking zones are really the key spot. And there's a lot of fast-flowing corners here. So this is probably the key braking zone for me. La Palmas has a little bit of a think about an overtake on Water Arrow into the hairpin, but nothing doing at that stage. So, again, a really close look there. He is thinking about it. That is one of your key overtaking spots. Turn 1, that 1-2 complex, also a key spot, I would say, to get an overtake made if you do want. Look at these, this massive slide from both Lamborghinis on the exit of the turn 14, that final chicane. They really are throwing everything at it at this early stage of the race. These two Kiwi pit lane Lamborghinis both looking absolutely wonderful. It's not very often we actually see in Gran Turismo, because obviously all drivers get a free choice of car. They don't have to drive the same car as their teammate if they don't want to. But obviously the KPL guys have made that decision, and it looks really nice to have two identical Lamborghinis, if you will, rolling around out there. And the freedom these guys have with their liveries, they just come up with some really, really nice looking cars.
Like a little bit of team-on-team violence as well. Gazoo is absolutely desperate to get past here. Has had a really, really strong pace in this opening sector. I think that's probably one of the great things about racing with compound choices, is that you can use that to your advantage just based on what the other drivers around you are running. Now, if I'm not mistaken, most of these front group are on the softs at the moment. I think post-pit stop we're going to see a real difference in approach, depending on whether they all try and extract, you know, another half race out of a set of softs, or if some of them decide to come in and switch over to the mediums and get just that little bit of extra life and leave themselves something in the tank for the last couple of laps here.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to consider for these drivers, and I as you said, I love the strategy that is opened up by the fact we have multiple compounds to choose from for these drivers. Water Arrow is closing up to the back of Unchained Chief, starting to put a bit of pressure on these new Ferraris again. So this circuit, brand new to the game. The Ferrari 296 GT3 car, brand new to the game as well. Only been in since December, and it seems to be a very popular choice amongst the drivers this season, and why wouldn't it be? How beautiful that car looks in the game. The graphics as well, making this circuit and car combination just absolutely stand out, and they have really outdone themselves with the liveries. Defy Motorsports always do. Those yellow and black liveries always look spectacular. We are 6 laps into this race. Rowan Green, he's been reeled back in now. This front group, they're starting to catch up. Porsche GT about to put some real pressure on the race leader.
I wonder if this is intentional from Green, trying to just make these tyres last a little bit longer. Happy to back the pace off a little here. We might have missed a small, maybe just a small hiccup through one of the turns that's allowed this group to catch up in such a rapid sort of a rate. Big dive there. Look at Nelson bring it up the inside. Charges on through. They're going to be side by side. I think Rooster's got the better drive out of the corner, so there'll be a little bit of panel rubbing here. but a great opportunity for Nelson to tuck in and have another shot at this. This is going to cost them both some time as they battle out, but Nelson absolutely flying in that GTR. I'd love to see it.
The GTR, that's your favourite. That's what you're hoping for. And he's doing a wonderful job up the inside into the final chicane, 13-4. He gets a little bit loose. He's in the wall. And he's now going to face the wrong way. A slight touch-up, side-to-side contact. He gets it spun around very quickly and will roll on. But he's going to lose positions. And that is very unfortunate for Nelson. That contact with Sid Roosters, that all started way back when at the hairpin. BVL Gazoo was made the overtake. I think he was let go by Sid Roosters. He's had more pace at that stage of the race, and then pretty much side by side all the way down that back straight into the final chicane, and it just was a little bit too difficult. As you mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Jared, this circuit very narrow, the walls very close, and that does not leave a lot of room for error, does it?
Doesn't. The other challenge, of course, and the curbs always come into play with GT3 cars, right? The suspension is not designed to go bouncing over it like something like your V8 supercars. They're really a very, very tight chassis. And so while they will absorb a few bumps here and there, there's a couple of curbs that I'm pretty sure I spotted are modelled here as well as in the iRacing version of this track, where that final chicane, you really cannot afford to cut too much out of it. It absolutely launches that inside right set of tyres. And it just unsettles the car massively. And when you're side by side battling for position through it, you have to be really, really sure of where those tyres are going to be. As we see another move here from Gazoo, looking to move up another spot, can't quite get there, so tucks in behind, but doing everything they can to unsettle Porsche, just fill those mirrors up and make sure that they're looking backwards more often than they're looking forwards.
And that's the key, isn't it? You want to keep the eyes forward. You do not want to have to worry about what's in your rearview mirror. And Porsche GT at the moment is very much worried about what is in his rearview mirror, because that is a very hard-charging BVL Gazoo. He is on a mission to get to the front of this field. Rowan Green, I feel, maybe taking slight advantage, as you said, saving those tyres and not necessarily having to worry, because he knows that Porsche GT is really just looking backwards pretty much all the way around the circuit. B. Nelson with the fastest lap of the race. I'm trying to work out when he set that. That was a couple laps ago. So he is quick out there at the moment. Potentially, okay, he is carrying a little bit of front bumper damage. So there is a bit of aero, a bit unsettled on that car. So he has his work cut out for him to move back further through this field. But a GTR, it looks really nice. It has been quick, and it can be quick. Question of when they come in for that stop. How long will that damage take to repair? We are getting towards the time when I would expect we get some pit stops starting to happen. Getting about halfway worn through these tyres. Lap 8, they'll start to fall off pretty quickly from here on out. Deep under brakes for Porsche GT. Gets it wrong in the hairpin. That has opened the door for BVL Gazoo to go up the inside. Pretty much invited him into that second place spot, and now he is able to move past into second position and set his sights on Rowan Green, who will now have to start to find a bit of pace. Mozzie with the fastest lap of the race, 36.5. So he is flying out there. He's at the back of the field. Remember, he had that spin at the final chicane earlier on in this race. But now, pressure starts to mount on Rowan Green, because BVL Gazoo has only one more car before he's at the front of this field.
Really interesting to see what the tyre wear is going to do here, though. Gazoo's been absolutely using up those tyres, and it's always a trade-off, isn't it? You're trading off longevity for in-the-moment grip. Unfortunately, as the tyres do start to wear on, you're going to have less and less of that available if you use it up in the early parts of this race. The question is, does Gazoo still have enough in these tyres to mount an attack at green, or is it going to be about conserving now through to the pit stop, and then hoping that you make the right choice on the tyre compound you come back out on? Only another couple of laps here. It should be reasonably easy to make these tyres last if you look after them through the corners. The straights shouldn't be doing too much damage to them, but I'll tell you what, those outside left tyres copping quite a bit more usage by the look of things, and that'll be all down to the amount of pressure that Gazoo's putting on them through this hairpin. Have a look at how late that braking gets done there.
It's very deep. BVL Gazoo especially very deep under brakes in that Lamborghini. He is all over the back now of Rowan Green. He gains so much time through that hairpin, doesn't he? Managed to carry so much more speed than pretty much everyone else around him. And now fancies himself a look at our race leader. If he can get a nice run through the chicane here, deep under brakes once again. The brakes of that Lamborghini working overtime, a little bit loose through the final chicane, but he's closed right up on the run down towards turn 1 now. And we get to lap 10, so this is around the time when I was predicting we might start to see pit stops. The tyres are holding up better than I thought they would, so the one stop onto softs here might be the way to go. It just depends now how late you want to push this first set to maximise the life out of the second set. He is really applying the blowtorch to the back of our race leader. Now look at that, through down towards, I believe this is the end of the first sector. I don't quite know what the corner numbers are. Forgive me for not remembering. I have tried to familiarise myself, but he is putting the pressure on our race leader. He's all over the back of him, isn't he? Looks now to the inside. He's trying to draw alongside. Very defensive from Green and trying the best that he can to shut the door on the KPL driver. But there is only, I think it's only a matter of time before this overtake gets done, and I think it's going to be at this hairpin.
I don't think Green can hold on any longer. They're going to have to really stay very, very defensive. And you see that just staying off that left-hand side, covering the inside of the corner, forcing Gazoo around the outside. That's not just about the distance through the corner, but also the amount of tyre wear that we know Gazoo's got on. But even so, look at the drive out of that turn. Makes it look easy. Green's going to slot in behind here. Still has a decent run of pace, but you'd almost expect, but this is not a place to go side by side. This is going to end in tears if they're not careful. There is no room in the chicane. Someone's got to blink first.
And he was smart there. He backed out of it. Knew that he was in a precarious spot on the inside line because he turns to the outside at the end of that chicane. You can find yourself in the wall of champions. Did not want that to be him. So backed out of that. Very smart indeed. But means we'll have to do it again. Water arrow into the pit lane. So one of the first drivers to make a pit stop now from 5th place on the road. And he's going to be followed in by Arnie and LaPalmans. So the first round of pit stops starting to come. We're setting 3 litres of fuel left. So drivers don't have a lot of fuel left. So that's going to be something to consider as well, as how much fuel do these guys have left. And it doesn't look like a lot. So they're putting the pressure on. Really trying to race each other hard, but they're not going to get much more out of this fuel tank, so we'll probably see them in, I'd suggest, at the end of this lap.
Yeah, and the question will be whose pit team is on the ball and how quickly can they get through that pit lane. There's an opportunity here, if Gazoo gets it right, to actually overtake Green through the pits. It's going to be marginal, but it'll all be the decision on how much fuel to take, and of course, just how hard to try and push it on both the pit entry and exit without overstepping the pit speed limits.
Yeah, that is the, think about it. Late dive up the inside. He's gone for that very late on in the piece, but he's made it work. Heavy under brakes for BVL Gazoo. That's the second time we've seen him do that, and he's made it work up into the lead of this race at a crucial time just before pit stop. So track position as they run down, I would suspect they will come into the pit lane this time by. No one has any fuel left, and they do. They keep it. You can go flat out into the pit lane here. Obviously controls it for you, and in he is to his box now. Fresh set of boots for BVL Gazoo, for Rowan Green. Look how much the Porsche GT had nothing left in the tank, running on the smell of an oily rag as he came into the booth. Fuel going in for all our drivers now, as everyone else behind them files into the lane. Unchained Chief continues on. He's been doing a bit of fuel saving, it seems, that he can run this long. So fuel saving happening for the PHE Sports driver. 100% fuel, so full tank of fuel going in for all of these drivers, and it would appear that BVL Gazoo will get out first ahead of Rowan Green, and he does. That is the gap now between the provisional race leaders, and that was crucial for BVL Gazoo to get that done before the pit stop.
Absolutely was. Sets up a great position, has had all of the pace so far tonight, and so it's really down to Green to respond. It'd be interesting to see what Chief can make of this little bit of overlap. Is an overcut actually going to play out here, or is there just not enough in it? It's come from a long way behind to find yourself at the front of a race pack here. It's monstering the curbs as well, which is an effort in itself. I don't think you've got enough fuel saving done here, surely, to be competing for the podium, but I guess we're about to find out.
Yeah, we will find out. He was back down towards the bottom of the top 8, I believe, before this round of pit stops was served. He will come in this lap looking at his projected fuel numbers. At the moment, his tyre wear after his tyres pretty well. He's actually had probably some of the most even tyre wear that I've seen out of the field so far tonight, considering the high amount of load that goes through those left-hand side tyres. And there he goes, flat out into the pit lane. In he goes. So this will be his one and only stop of the evening. BBL Gazoo ahead, starting to pull away now. Look at the gap that he has made to Rowan Green already. We've got side-by-side Sid Roosters and Porsche GT. This can end in tears if you don't back out. Sid Roosters makes the call to back out of that one. And Porsche GT monstering those curbs in the Mercedes. One of the cars I think is probably best over the curbs is that Mercedes, because it is one of the bigger, bulkier cars. The Lamborghini sits so low to the ground. Has a think about a look, Sid Roosters. But I think it's only a matter of time before Porsche GT could lose this spot on the podium, because this is, again, the last spot on the podium in this race.
Big, heavy engine at the front really does allow you to absorb quite a bit more over these bumps, and you've got to maximise that. Porsche's done a great job to bounce up and over those curbs and just maintain that position. You can see Sid just backing out early, knowing that they wouldn't have the grip through that chicane to think about going side by side. There's really just not the room for it. Maybe it is just a case of, look, does Porsche just send it a little bit harder and hope that that Sid backs out each and every time? Is that the way to stay in podium contention at this point?
I think it has to be. You've got to be thinking about how defensive you can drive. You want to be covering the inside as we get down towards the hairpin here. He does not want to leave that inside vulnerable. He does. He tries to stick to the racing line. Sid Roosters not able to get deep enough under brakes to make inroads on Porsche GT. But here is where he was able to get the slipstream last time, draw alongside. Doesn't look as close this time to make that happen. We'll check in further down the field. Unchained Chief actually in 5th spot now. So that overcut seemed to work pretty well for him actually in the end. When you look at where he now sits in the field, a top 5 finish would be a wonderful result for him tonight to kick off his Season 8 campaign in Division 2. Water Arrow in 6th place after those stops, followed by Lagoon, and then B. Nelson after that earlier contact in 8th place after these pit stops. La Palman's 9th, and it's C. Packer off the back of the grid. Found himself up into 10th place. We are down to 15 drivers, so we have lost a driver this evening. I will do my best to work out who this is. A half-second slowdown for Prometheus. That will feel like eternity once he does serve it. I think it is. Oh, it isn't Mozzie. So Mozzie's still out there rolling around. So I will get to the bottom of who we have lost in this field tonight. And howdy R8 out there as well. Just getting a nice readout on what cars we have on offer this season. It's really good with all GT3 racing, really, that we have a mix. I will point out, if you don't mind, if I can find him, there he is, Rowan Green. He's running the old gen BMW. And I say old gen, most people would be used to seeing the modern BMW GT3 cars, the M3 GT3 cars we see these days. Gran Turismo runs the old version of those cars, but this is older again. This is the Z4, so 2 generations removed of GT3 car, and that's his pick to go with this season. A bold call, but so far it seems to be working for him.
Honestly, one of my favourite looking BMWs. I love the Z4 GT3s. They just have such a gorgeous silhouette, and I am all for it.
It does look great, doesn't it? I've got the results here. I can actually confirm that it is La Palman's that has disconnected, DNF'd from this race, which is super unfortunate. Very disappointing indeed that he's wasn't able to continue. I believe it was actually a connection issue, and something we see relatively often, unfortunately, in Gran Turismo 7 with the servers, is that drivers disconnect, and once you disconnect, unfortunately, you're unable to rejoin and continue in the race. In Assetto Corsa or ACC and in iRacing, disconnect, you're able to actually get back into the server and continue, albeit a lap or 2 down. But unfortunately in Gran Turismo, once the race starts, that is it. So his night is over, which is disappointing, but hopefully we'll see him bounce back next week. This battle's still going on for the end of the podium. Porsche GT, he's making this hard for Sid Roosters, and I think he's just worn through that early stage of the tyres for Sid Roosters really just coming up to temperature and being at optimal, and now he's sat behind this Mercedes for a couple laps. Those front tyres are starting to get really hot.
Wondering why we haven't seen the same kind of moves from Roosters that Kazoo's been pulling. The Lambo's clearly capable. Have a look at the drive out of the hairpin there. Roosters jumps away from the corner, maybe a little bit of a wiggle from Porsche, not getting the power down, but there's the move finally. Just waiting for the mistake from the driver in front is, what is going on? Porsche not happy with that overtake by the look of things. Going to look to send it up the chicane. That would be very, very dangerous indeed. I don't know if there was maybe a little more contact there than we saw, but Porsche, I don't think too impressed with that overtake move.
No, did not seem happy at all. But yeah, it looks okay on our screen. But I'm sure if there's something in it, it'll be sent to the stewards. The stewards will investigate post race, and they'll if anything in it, I'm sure there'll be a penalty. But didn't look happy at all. Now, I love when I press the wrong button. There's so many buttons. And so many things do different stuff that you accidentally lean on something and all of a sudden you've done the wrong thing. But Sid Roosters, he's now got a set after Rowan Green, and this could be a 1-2 on the cards for KPL, which would be a wonderful way to start off their season. These Lamborghinis have looked so strong tonight. And look at the gap that PVL Gazoo has got. Fresh air has done him a world of good. He's absolutely disappeared up the road. A 36.2 on the previous lap to be the fastest car on the track. He is in a league of his own this evening.
Lamborghini obviously very, very well set up for this track tonight, and not even close. It's absolute daylight back to second. I'm almost a little surprised to see those sort of lap times still coming out, because when you've got that much of a gap, surely you want to take it just a little easier and make sure you don't overstep the limits. But look, only what, 8 laps to go, 6 laps to go from here, rather. I think you'd have to call this one pretty well sewn up, barring a major incident.
Oh, a little bit of contact with the wall there. I'm not sure if that's net code or actually into the wall, but I think he's on track to go faster here again, and he does by just under a tenth of a second. So he's gone faster again. He is going on with it out the front at the moment. Here's BVL Gazoo. He is not content with just being first. He wants to absolutely run away with this. Rowan Green has got a lot of work to do to hold on from 2 very quick drivers in behind. This is the battle that I think will continue for these last 5 laps. We'll have a look further down the field and anything else that might be happening. Unchained Chief sort of in a world of his own at the moment, disconnected from that front group, but also the cars behind not able to make inroads on him as well. Water Arrow being reeled in actually by Lagoon at the moment. He had his fastest lap of the race at 37.6 just a couple laps ago. Water Arrow in the 38s and 37s. So a little bit of ebb and flow between these two at the moment. But 6th place on the road. We got 15 cars still on the circuit. A top 6 finish here tonight would be a really strong way to open your account.
I'm just, of curiosity, just taking a quick look at some of the comparative times between these guys here tonight and some of the top drivers on iRacing who have gotten around this circuit so far this season. And I can tell you that the times that are being set out in front would get you into the top 50 recorded times worldwide around Gilles Villeneuve in a GT3 car, which sort of does show that they're pretty comparable in terms of the performance that you expect out of a GT3. There's not a lot of difference between the GT7 model and the iRacing model, so good to see, and certainly some very quick times being set out there tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is only Division 2. We still have Division 1 to come later this evening, which is obviously the fastest drivers that we have in the league. Some of the fastest drivers, albeit in Australia and New Zealand. So certainly some quicker times to come our way. Do not go anywhere. We're almost at the end of this first Division 2 race, and what a race it has been so far. Action aplenty. This is Packer, started off the back row of the grid, as we touched on earlier. He's trying to make some inroads in the Palmer, who I said had disconnected, but still on the circuit, so I believe it actually was Puma GT that is disconnected from this race, unfortunately, one of the CP Motorsports drivers. So Packer is one CP Motorsports driver, and there's a second driver in Puma GT that I believe is no longer in the field. So I thought it was the Palmans. I apologise for getting that incorrect, and I apologise, of course, to the Palmans. But yeah, trying to read the data is a little bit tricky sometimes. This is Arnie and Prometheus battling away. Arnie, one of the more prevalent drivers in earlier seasons of AGT, has struggled as of late in the last couple seasons, looking to regain some form, but just hasn't seemed to go his way tonight. He races with races in VR, so instead of having just like a screen, they call it pancake mode. Some of the drivers race VR, they call it racing in pancake mode. Instead of having a screen in front of him, he's got a headset on, and everywhere he looks is race car.
I like to hear. I am a VR racer myself, and I don't think it compares. No matter how much money you spend on pancake setups, on triple screens, as is so often the case with the big sim rig setups, I don't think it compares to the experience of VR and actually having that depth perception, being able to just turn your head and look out the window for the car alongside you, and you really do just get a whole different feel for just how far off your apexes are, where your car's sitting on the track. It's a great way to drive. I highly recommend it to anyone who's got the time to get used to it. And that is the challenge, of course, is just getting used to the sensation and having your body not react as though something's gone horribly wrong and you want to throw up all over the place.
Yeah, that's the problem I have. I definitely get motion sick in a VR headset, so I can't spend too long in it. Lagoon, meanwhile, while we've been following along with that, has actually made an overtake on Water Arrow. Put himself up into that 6th place spot. Water Arrow looking very loose in the background, so struggling for a little bit of rear grip at this stage. His rear tyres, if you look, it's very, got to look very closely, get a magnifying glass out, but there is a slightly larger amount of wear, especially on those rear tyres for Water Arrow. Look at throwing the car across the curbs there. Airtime indeed for that Ferrari. But he's trying to throw everything he can at Lagoon to get that spot back. But I just get the sense his tyres are a little bit more worn. He's struggling a little bit deep under brakes. Did well to avoid contact there in the hairpin. But he is throwing everything at it. He's desperate to get this spot back.
Really key corner for tyre wear on this circuit. That hairpin puts so much pressure on the rear left when you are getting the foot down, trying to get the drive out of that corner. You're sacrificing a lot of rear left grip, and you're seeing that show up in the wear for Water Arrow right now. Side by side, not backing out of the chicane, forces the issue and charges on through. A very, very brave move, but look at the pace of Lagoon, straight back out of that chicane. A much better line from that wider position, and it doesn't let that go unchecked.
No, not at all, and that's very good driving between both these guys, putting their skills on display this evening for us all to see. And we're on lap 20 now, so 2 laps to go. Not a lot of time for Water Arrow to try and get this move done. He is holding on a lot better than I would have predicted with those tyres. We've got a higher squeal in the background. Is that a car maybe facing the wrong way? Unchained Chief is up the road, but still pointing in the right direction, so maybe just a couple cars really just getting the foot down a bit early, getting the hammer down, and feeling the effects of the tyre squeal here. You know, in the late stage of this race, tyres will become a factor here, and that's what we're going to talk about this evening. Tyres. How is it affecting your wear? Big power slide there from Water Arrow, and on the exit on the run down towards the hairpin. Can he make the move this time around? He's a lot closer than he was. Pulls out to the inside. Very deep under brakes, gets that done, parks it there on the apex, holds the line to avoid the switchback from Lagoon, which he did look for, but couldn't get there. Water Arrow was still parked. They're side by side, down the back straight, on the run towards the final chicane. They'll need to sort this out before they get there, otherwise it will end in tears. 2 does not go into 1. They're still banging doors on the run down towards the hairpin. A little bit of a touch-up. The slide from Water Arrow carries so much speed. You get a slowdown from that. He doesn't. But the game has actually got away with that at the moment, which is very interesting indeed. Oh, a little bit of contact. He does get a half slowdown penalty. So there you go. The game has awarded him a slowdown for his trouble. And that was some very intense action. It has actually invited Nelson right into this party as well.
If I'm just checking my GT7 knowledge here, that half-second penalty, that's going to carry with Water Arrow right to the end of this race, isn't it?
There is a slowdown zone. I don't quite know where it is on the circuit, but there is a slowdown zone that he will serve that in at some point in this lap. So when he gets close to the zone, there'll be a bar that appears above his head that says slowing down, and a progression bar to show how close he is to slowing down. and then he'll have to pull, a mandate in the driver's briefing, you have to pull to a certain side of the circuit to serve that. So he's going to be overtaken here by Lagoon and potentially Nelson as well on the run down towards the hairpin. Has the inside line, deep under brakes. Can he get that move done? Nelson's also going to have a look at Lagoon. There's that bar that says slowing down. And Nelson not quite enough drive off the corner to get that done. So water arrow here. It says slowing down. It will force him in this zone coming up. Serve has to pull to a certain side of the circuit. Serve that slow down as mandated in the driver's briefing. Gets it out of the way and it will continue on.
Maybe just a small misjudgment on how much slowdown was required before that next penalty line. Probably suffered a little bit more by not getting it completely wiped by the end. Look at this still going on. Porsche and Roosters have been at this for, what, the last 10 laps since the pit stops even. Roosters out in front though. Final lap should be able to hold it from here, but anything can happen.
Anything can happen and anything will happen. We'll keep an eye on where our race leader is at, but we will try and stay with this battle right till the end. The last spot on the podium, Porsche GT, a last desperate gasp for that podium spot in the opening round. Had a little bit of a moment across the curbs there, and I think it's just unsettled the car enough that he's not going to be close enough through the hairpin to make the overtake stick, and I don't know if he's going to get the drive out of here to make that done. So this may all be said and done for Sid Roosters, as long as he doesn't make a major mistake from here. But let's talk about the man on the screen. Hasn't got as much airtime in the back end of this stint because he really did just run away with it in the second phase of this race. But he opens his account very strongly for Season 8, presented by Precise Lubrications. It's going to be BVL Gazoo that wins race 1 of the season and takes the checkered flag first. Rowan Green will come from the pole to finish in second, and Sid Roosters holds on over Porsche GT to finish on the podium. A great race between those drivers. Unchained Chief really in no man's land, but comes home for a very quiet, very well-earned 5th place in this race, and Lagoon will hold on over B. Nelson right down to the line. He's in the slipstream as Nelson is going to pull out to try and go for the overtake, but can't quite get it and is sideways across the line. Water Arrow rounding out the top 8. Packer from the back of the grid into 9th. Well done. And Prometheus will round out your top 10. We will jump over to our results page now to cover the full race results. What a race that was indeed. Let's have a look at our race results. So, was BVL Gazoo was 7 seconds in the end to Rowan Green. So, what a gap that was. 7 seconds. He really did walk away with it. Then about a second back to Sid Roosters, and then 3/10 to Porsche GT. Nice and close at the end with those two. Unchained Chief, another 12 seconds back from him, followed by Lagoon and Nelson. Look at the gap between the two of them. Less than 0.2 of a second as they crossed the line. Then it was Water Arrow, CS Packer, Prometheus, Arnie, Sparks, Aussie F1, which I believe is Mozzie, who at one stage had the fastest lap of the race, was looking promising. HB Motor in 14th, and then disconnect at the back end of the race there for La Palmas. So he did disconnect in the end, unfortunately, and Puma GT with the disconnect early. But wow, what a race, what a way to kick off Season 8, Jared.
I'm stunned that there was that much variance for that top 4, considering how close the qualifying times were. They really did find an extra burst of pace across those 22 laps. Unchained did a great job to stay in 5th and just try and manage the gap between 4th and 6th a bit. But the front 4 walking away with it cannot take anything away from Gazoo. An absolutely massive drive once they're out in front of that pack, just kept on walking away. Don't underestimate just how big of a gap 7 seconds is when you're on your own out at the front of the field. That takes a monumental effort around this track.
It sure does, and something that I'm sure he'll be extremely proud of. Well, that is Division 2. We still have Division 1 coming up very shortly, but we're going to take a quick break while we get set for that. So a quick 5-minute break. Do not go anywhere. We will be back very shortly with all the action for Division 1. In what is AGT GT7 GT3 Season 8, presented by Precise Lubrications. We'll be right back very soon.
I take a leap of faith for you. Trying to make some sense. I don't know when the way lost control. Stuck in my same old place. Trying to make some sense.
That's another hot one. That shit up. I'm ready for
No mountains too high, no oceans too wide. I take a leap of faith for you. I touch the sky. No city's too big, no river's too deep. I cross the universe for you, my love. I would die. I don't know when the way lost control. Stuck in my same old place. Trying to make some sense. I don't know when the way lost control. Stuck in my same old place. Trying to make some sense.
Welcome back. We hope you guys enjoyed that short little break there. Refilled your drinks, got a few more snacks and are ready and locked in for race 2 of the evening, Division 1 for the opening round of the AGT GT7 GT3 Championship, powered by and presented by Precise Lubrications. I, of course, am your host, lead commentator, Isaac Foggy, and just welcome all you back in. Thank you all for watching, wherever you are watching from. And alongside me tonight, of course, is Jared Cole from Simple Racing Broadcasts. And Jared, race 1, very exciting action in Division 2, but now we get to the big boys and the Division 1 coming up very shortly. Looking forward to seeing what these guys can do.
Absolutely am. It's great to be back for Div 1 here, and look, I am expecting to see some even bowler moves in Div 1. We saw quite a few in the Div 2 racing. Just really, look, I don't know if bold is even the word. Maybe foolhardy at times moves to get some passes done. But that's just going to be magnified with the pace that we're about to see in this field, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you saw, whatever you thought was quick, it's about to get even quicker, ladies and gentlemen. So buckle up. Let's have a look at our qualifying time. So we saw 36s in the Division 2 qualifying time. Try 35 flats for your pole time here for Caleb Birtles for KPL. Obviously, a previous champion of AGT and the Tuesday division. So he will line up on the pole position. Getting those times up actually for you now, just what the pole time was to remind myself, 36.7, so 1.7 seconds quicker is our pole sitter. He's 6/10 clear though of the man that shares the front row with him, Sharky for Race Asylum, and then it's Barton for JM Motorsports on row number 2 with Ella SK, and then Muller and DJ McSweeney on row number 3. Then Xander Strike and Prying Stingray row 4. Pakitas and Gopi Mahindajit, a very new addition to the AGT world, but very well known across GT7. He's a very quick driver, so looking forward to seeing what he can do across the season. A bit further down the order in qualifying than he might have liked, but I'm sure he'll have plenty of opportunity in the race to move forward. Then it's AGT K. a staple member of Division 1. We've seen him pretty much every single season. I don't think he's missed a season yet in Division 1. It's great to see him back with Manton alongside him on row number 6. Then it's Wheeler and Xander Stewart on the 7th row of the grid. I'm losing track of my numbers now. And then Matt McCallum and George Smith at the back of the grid on row number 8. And these qualifying times, man, I just cannot get over that 35 flat from Caleb Birtles. That is a blistering lap time.
There's no other way to put it. That's stupid fast. And what I'm interested to see is whether that translates to race pace. And we saw, tyre wear starting to come into things at the Div 2 pace. Surely a 35 flat is not sustainable across 22 laps.
I would highly doubt that we'll see him doing constantly 35 flats, but I'm also prepared to eat my words because I've had to do that before. I've said, oh, nope, that's not going to be what happens. And then you get out there and that's exactly what happens. So we'll keep a very close eye on that, I'm sure. We'll get down to the track. The drivers are starting to roll out at the end of their warm-up lap to get into formation for this race start. So we'll head down to the grid for race start for Division 1, the staple division of AGT. Here we are. There's your pole sitter, Caleb Birtles. He will lead us away very, very shortly for race 1 of the season for Division 1. And there is the green flag. We are away. And it will be a great start for our pole sitter. Sharky losing a little bit of ground there to Barton off the start as they all run in towards turn 1 and 2 for the first time. Nice and neat and tidy. A little bit wide from Barton there, but everyone else starting to sort out their positions in the background. And really would love some smoother camera work if I could in GT7. If they get on the cameras and fix the camera movement up, that would be absolutely amazing. Would very much appreciate that. Sideways in the background, one of the Defy Motorsport cars, that's Wheeler, getting a little bit crossed up on the exit of turn 5. But it's been a very clean start so far for all our drivers, especially the man that started on pole, Birtles. He's got away to a great start.
It's one of the joys of qualifying out in front. Nothing but clean air in front of you. And particularly with a rolling start, you do get to set the tone for the opening stages of this race. Very interesting mix of cars that we've got here in Div 1 compared to the Div 2. As we see a slowdown picked up in the background for Barton. Not happy with that. A bit of a shake of the nose there. That's gonna cost quite a bit of time. And did I see another one just behind for Muller as well?
did. Yes, that is a very keen eye. So 2 drivers picking up slowdowns right off the start here. And they will not be happy about that at all. They're going to serve the slowdown, pull right across to the inside of the circuit for Button. He pulled all the way onto the grass there, so a very aggressive move across. Very much showing his frustration with that penalty here early on. But it is a great start. This is wonderful for especially these 2 at the front, Birtles and Sharky, really just broken away from the pack behind. Barton will have to do a bit of work if he wants to get back up into those podium places.
I think that's probably, it just rattled them a little bit. DJ's all over the rear end at the moment, just tucked in behind that spoiler, looking for an extra few K an hour down these straights that are just ahead of them. Of course, out in front, Ella is setting the pace for this chasing group. Birtles and Sharky out in front, nothing but time at the moment. So this group needs to start to work together. They need to make sure they're not battling too much with each other and losing sight of the leaders of this race.
You do not want to lose touch with the group at the front, because once you do, it'll be so hard to get back up, to catch back up to them. We saw that in Division 2, sorry. We saw that in Division 2. Once they lost touch with BVL Gazoo at the front, it was pretty much game over. There was no way they were going to catch him before the end of that race. So we've got a pack here in the background as well, led by Pakitas. This young man, we believe he's about 15 years of age. We said the other night on a different broadcast that I was in that he was 14 years of age. But I believe he's been about 14 years of age for about 3 years now. We do have an error with his livery. It was loaded in earlier, so I'm not entirely sure what's happened. I went through before we got underway and made sure that everyone's liveries are loaded in, but it seems to have disappeared on us. So we do apologise to Pakitas. You can see a little bit of a preview in the bottom corner there of what that would look like. Up the inside from Gopi Mahindajit on AGT K-Dot. That doesn't work in the chicanes. We've learned multiple times. That's in the wall for K-Dot. He's made heavy contact. He got away with no damage though, but Wheeler now fancies himself a look at the last spot inside the top 10, but that was messy. We've already spoken about this tonight, Jared. 2 does not go into 1, especially when it comes to that chicane.
Hard stop at the edge of the track there with that wall just waiting to absolutely monster all of your right-hand side suspension components if you do get it wrong. It would take supreme coordination between drivers to actually make it through there side by side, and I don't think you're going to find that under race conditions. All of these guys pushing on and really just hoping that they blink last, and sometimes neither of them blink at all, and you end up with exactly that kind of a situation. K-Dot's got some work to do now.
He definitely does have some work to do if he wants to gain positions. Meanwhile, out in front, these guys continue to pull away. LSK's made a little bit of a gap, breathing room between himself and the cat behind. Muller with another half-second slowdown, so he's copped another slowdown penalty, and that's going to leave him vulnerable to losing more places to Luke Smith, prying Stingray behind. And that is not ideal at all for him. So that's 2 in almost as many laps. Pulls to the inside, gets out of the way. Now Prying Stingray will pretty much walk past him in a straight line. It's such a killer, isn't it, that slowdown penalty? You have to scrub off so much speed. You're pretty much forced to 0 throttle by the game, and is not what you want to have at all.
Important though to manage it as best you can and limit the damage. You know, that's why you see those drivers leaving it to the very, very last moment to burn off that slowdown. The closer you are to that braking zone for the chicane, the less the real impact of the slowdown really hits your times, and it's keeping Muller in touch for now. Cannot afford another one, has to be more careful through these corners, and cannot afford to keep picking up those half-second penalties.
No, not at all. You do not want to cop too many of those. That'll really bring your race undone. Wheeler lost touch with Mahindajit here a little bit now that he's settled back into a rhythm, and now under pressure from K-Dot, looking to bounce back, find his way back through the field. He's pushing hard at the moment to catch up and make up for lost time, but Wheeler driving very well at the moment, very defensively. Defy Motorsports, again, lovely presented liveries. All the liveries that these teams have this season just look absolutely spectacular. The CP Motorsports Nissan, I know you're a big fan of the Nissan, Jared, and it looks absolutely spectacular. Not as many Nissans out there as I was expecting to see, but we have got at least one across all the divisions, which is good because we're getting some Skyline representation.
I live in absolutely unearned hope that the Nissans might make their way to iRacing one day. I suspect that the connection between Nissan and Sony is probably just a tad too strong to let that happen anytime soon.
Yeah, well, you never know. You can never say never. A lot of the GT3 cars we see these days, we've got the GTRs are in ACC. They're in a couple other games, I believe that they may be modded in, but they're definitely in ACC. So there is potential that one day we may see the Nissan GTR come to iRacing. We can only hope, but for now, we still get to enjoy it on a game like this. We get to see it in all its glory in the lovely presented liveries. This group has really started to close back up again. So Stingray has found his way ahead of DJ and Muller earlier, obviously, after that slowdown. But now just seems to be holding the pack up a little bit. We've got 4 or 5 cars in here that are all within striking distance of each other.
Of course, he's finding the opportunity here at Villeneuve. It's such a difficult track to get the pass done. There's a couple of these hard braking zones where you can't afford to go side by side. Big slide on the way out from DJ there, trying to get the power down and stick with Stingray. I don't know if it's actually Stingray that's holding this group up quite so much at the moment. I just don't think DJ's got quite the pace for now. Muller has tidied up the driving, is avoiding those slowdowns like the plague, unsurprisingly, having already copped a second of penalties so far. The front group, though, continue to just pull further and further away.
They really do. The gap, jump up the front and have a look at that for you now. Just what it looks like out the front. And it is Caleb Birtles by quite a margin over Shark. He's just gone fastest again. So the fastest lap of the race, 35.5. So not quite the 35 flats we saw in qualifying, but still, nonetheless, quite considerably quick. Still faster than the time that this man on screen, Sharky, managed to do in qualifying. He did a 35.6. So Caleb Birtles, he's got a lot of pace out there at the moment, as does Sharky in the Renault. Renault, not a car we see very, very often. Sharky is known for his unconventional car choices, and again, it's really nice to see the variety of cars we're getting. It just goes to show and speaks volumes for, I should say, the balance of power system that GT7 uses and just how even it is able to get all these cars.
Look, I think you shouldn't underestimate some of these lesser known or perhaps lesser respected brands. You know, no one looks at a Renault or a Citroen, for instance, and says, hey, yeah, that's a brand of car that I see around all over the place, particularly down on this part of the planet. But when you think about their motorsport pedigree, particularly when it comes to World Rally racing, they absolutely know what they're doing with a motor, and you see that play out in the GT3 space.
And we don't get the privilege of a Citroen GT3 car in real life. This is a project between Citroen and Gran Turismo that gave us this very mean looking car. Lots of aero going on and lots of panels sticking out, and a little bit of contact with the wall there. The Stingray gets away with no damage. Getting into lap 7 now for these drivers. We're getting to the point in the race where you'll start to feel the wear on the tyres. Grip will start to become a little bit more limited. We could see more mistakes side by side. Pakitas and Zanderstrike on the run in towards turn 1. Will hold on up the inside though, so gets the inside line back for Xander on the run through 2 down towards 3. But Pakitas gets better drive. Those Lamborghinis tonight they've just been really quick around here. So much drive off the corner compared to the cars around them, and they've just been in a class of their own, haven't they?
But it is really, I think, more down to the individual drivers we've seen. One of the things I've really noticed with the Lamborghini drivers, they seem to be, I don't know if they're much more planted and so feel more confident to really put the foot down, but they're certainly doing it at the expense of tyre life. Now, they've got plenty of tyre life up the sleeve from what we saw in the earlier race. Maybe it's just that the Lamborghini here gives the extra layer of confidence to really lean into that and use it up a bit more than some of these other cars are allowing the drivers to do.
It is, yeah, definitely potential. I'd love to see data on that. Unfortunately, we don't quite have the data to read. I do have the unfortunate duty of informing everybody that unfortunately we have lost Gopi Mahinjit. He has disconnected from this race. So another victim of the disconnect tonight, which is very, very disappointing for him, because he was running so well moving through this field after a difficult qualifying session. And again, it's just the nature of these Gran Turismo servers, given that they are shared across PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, there is times when the servers do struggle a little bit and drivers can disconnect if their internet connection even lacks. But for just a second, I know I've fallen victim to it myself in the past, but it just creates a lot of frustration for these drivers, especially when they're having a good night or on for a good result.
You know what? I think we just start calling it retirement due to technical issues. I mean, motorsport has that sort of thing. You can lose a piston ring, you can have a gear drop out of your gearbox, whatever. This is the sim racing equivalent, isn't it?
I guess, yeah, you're not wrong. The internet has decided I've had enough for the evening. Gonna step away, and so technical issues indeed. And I'll make sure I continue to use that terminology from now on, because that's actually a pretty good one, and not something I'd necessarily thought of before. So that's why I bring you in, Jared. You've got the the brains to really.
Mate, you cover enough races and you see enough weird things happen due to little network glitches and the like. Really, it's you've got to lean into it, right? Because you don't see, unless I'm missing a whole aspect of GT7 I'm not aware of, you don't see mechanical issues, right?
No.
Like there's a modelling of tyre wear, there's fuel usage, there's damage when you hit stuff, but you don't see the kind of just little weird technical issues that happen in real motorsport. Right, you don't see someone's forgotten to torque down one of the head bolts or something like that just causes a performance issue for a car, causes an early retirement from a race. For me, I've always just considered that the network issues are essentially sim racing's answer to that.
I think you're right. We don't, as you said, we don't see any sort of mechanical issue in GT7 or really most sim racing in general. I know for a while there was a piece of code in iRacing that just meant the engine exploded randomly, which obviously not ideal for it to do that. But yeah, GT7, they don't have anything like that. If you hit the wall hard enough, you can have engine issues, but again, you just drive into the pit lane, serve a pit stop, and it will fix it for you. There's not any terminal issues that can really occur, which is great for our drivers, but means that things like an internet dropout or a network glitch is what we would probably consider technical issues. So technical issues, unfortunately, will befall a couple drivers tonight, including Gopi Hinajit, who is now out of this race. But we're getting towards the halfway stage of this race. We're about to start lap 10, so 9 laps gone. It is Caleb Birtles that leads the race relatively comfortably, I would say, from Sharky in second, who again has a little bit of sideways or a bit of drift work there on the exit of the chicane, but does lead quite comfortably. Overella in third, and there's starting to be gaps formed at the front of this field because there is a fairly healthy gap back to Barton as well in fourth place, with that slowdown on lap 1 which cost him his spot on the podium. Then it's Frying Stingray in fifth, followed by Art DJ or McSweeney, as you can see on the side there of his PHE Ferrari. Then it's Muller, who was marred by a couple slowdowns early on in this race, but has gotten back into a rhythm now, avoided the slowdowns for a while, and is sitting quite comfortably in 7th. And then Pakitas rounding out that top 8. And we refer, usually in Gran Turismo, given we have only 16 drivers in a field, we refer to the top 8 as sort of like our top 10, in that if you're inside the top 8, that's pretty much a top 10 finish. You could count the top 10 if you really wanted to. I'm sure some drivers that finish in 9th and 10th definitely would. But that's how we sort of look at it, is you're in the top half of the grid. So rounding out the top half of the grid is Pakitas, and on a solid drive so far, AGT K-Dot, he's gained a couple spots, and look at this battle in the background, side by side, under the bridge, and then across the curbs now, Wheeler, Zanderstrike, and Manton battling away. K-Dot has jumped these guys and really using the fact that they're battling each other to his advantage to walk into the distance.
This is the trap that so many drivers fall into. They get so much red mist descend. They have to get past on that corner, but they end up costing them so much time as they go side by side and take far off the optimal line into a lot of these turns. And what you see is exactly this. The gap opens up in front, and you might win this one little position for the moment, but both of you suffer so much as a result.
Yeah, and that's not ideal when you're trying to move forward in a race. You do not want to be battling with someone so much that it's going to cost you the opportunity to continue to move forward. We'll continue as looking through this field as well. And Xander Stewart down in 13th place. Then it's Matt McCallum. Had a bit of a difficult night, a bit of a difficult opening account to his season so far. Trying to see what he's driving there. He is driving the Ferrari. So picked the newest car, and he's going to dive into the pit lane, get onto a fresh set of boots. An early pit stop for him indeed. This is George Smith in the BMW for PAG Sports. It's a very nice looking BMW, I will say. Again, this is the older generation BMW we spoke about earlier. So we saw the Z4 in Div 2. This is the M3, but the previous gen M3. There is rumblings, Jared, that we will see the new, not M3, the M4. We'll see the new M4 in Gran Turismo very soon. But for now, this is what our drivers have had the pleasure of driving around, and it doesn't look too bad, but I'm sure they'd all be itching for the new BMW to make its way to the game.
Absolutely. I mean, who doesn't love a new car model? Birtles is in, so finally getting in a midpoint of the race, absolutely managing the fuel beautifully. 3 litres left as you come in, or 3%. You'll have to correct me on that later. But
same thing.
Same. There you go. Absolutely using up all of it.
Everyone's
Something I
in.
did notice earlier, great time to talk about it, the old adage, right? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Talk to me about just how much freedom these drivers have with their setups and tuning things like the suspension rates and suspension height. How much of that is actually available to these drivers?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, someone in the chat, I'm sure, will let me know for next week. But setups are pretty much locked. They only allow you to adjust the brake bias and the traction control, from what I understand. We used to have a little bit more freedom in what drivers could adjust in terms of ride height, things like that. But it's pretty much essentially a spec series. So you run the default setup with just the balance of power, which I know there's some drivers out there that definitely would love to delve into the suspension rates and adjusting ride heights and toe in and toe out, that sort of thing with their setups, but they do make sure that's locked. Just for some of the drivers, they want to make it sort of user-friendly, I guess, in the sense that if you don't know too much about having to or doing a setup, you don't have to worry about coming in and being around drivers that have spent hours and hours and hours trying to work out how to get the best setup, because I think they just want to make it accessible for everybody.
That's really interesting then, because something I noticed as Birtles absolutely flew around the track out in first with a huge gap back to second was the lack of tyre wear that we're seeing from this car. That talks to just how smooth all of this cornering has been. Not pushing the tyres to make it happen, but actually balancing the chassis really, really nicely through all of these turns and getting much, much better tyre wear as a result. I don't think there was a huge amount in it, but it was certainly noticeable just how much better those tyres were holding up, and you can see it translating to lap times. That's really interesting.
Birtles has always been a driver that's been very, very smooth on tyres. I do know the Citroen does help. It is quite good on tyres and fuel, but he is very, very smooth with his inputs. Takes a lot of care in the way that he looks after those tyres. So not surprised at all that he has stood out as a driver that really just doing a great job of maximising the tyre life, because he is definitely one of those very experienced in the world of GT7, one of the fastest drivers across Australia and New Zealand. He's actually Kiwi, so we will just claim him as Australian. I'm sure we usually do that with the Kiwis,
that's
don't
what
we?
we do, isn't it?
We just claim them as us.
That's pretty much it. You're a Kiwi and you're great at sport. No, you're Australian.
Australian.
That's pretty much what we do. It's a proud tradition here, and I don't see why it shouldn't continue.
That's I couldn't agree more. I definitely think we should keep that up. I'm just noticing I've got him on our screen now. Prying Stingray was up in the 5th spot, had to serve a slowdown on the previous lap, which I believe was from overrunning the pit exit line, which is actually a 3-second slowdown. So he lost so much time to this group and almost lost another spot to Pakitas. Has done well enough that he's defended that, but 3 seconds in the slowdown zone, that is a lot of time to scrub off, especially on a straight like this. So he will be kicking himself that he did, in fact, overrun that pit exit line. But the game is very strict on it. If you touch it ever so slightly, it will give you 3 seconds sideways for Muller through the chicane. A lot of curb usage, getting very greedy with the curbs. And I think that's because he knows that McSweeney is right behind him and really starting to close in.
Look, I'd take a 3-second penalty, honestly. It's compared to some that I've seen, and I can tell you from relatively recent experience, watching a V8 supercar race at Red Bull Ring on iRacing, one of the leagues that we do cover over on Simple. We had a driver who put a half tyre over the exit line at Red Bull Ring, and ended up with a drive-through penalty issued by the game for an unsafe pit exit. So, 3 seconds, it's not a great penalty to receive, but it could be worse.
Certainly could be. I'm very glad that I've never been on the receiving end of a drive-through penalty for overrunning the pit exit, but I'm sure these guys will be very glad that it's also the same for them, because 3 seconds does seem very, very light in the grand scheme of things. Not great, but as you said, could be much, much worse. RTJ is just trying to make inroads here on Muller. I think everyone's starting to just find their own bit of racetrack now. Everyone's starting to spread out as we get towards the back end of this race. And really know if there's anyone that's sort of close together on track. We will have a look down the field for anyone that might be close on track. Wheeler, he's on his own. Xander Strike has got a half-second slowdown to serve. So that is not ideal at all for him. But it's getting to the point now in the race where it's just starting to calm down. It's the calm before the storm, isn't it? Everyone's found their own bit of racetrack and just waiting for someone to make a mistake or find a little bit of pace here and there to start catching up and get a battle going again.
That's always the challenge in the closing stages of a race, is making the decision between charging on and trying to pick up that one extra position, but also the risk factor in doing that of completely undoing your race, putting it into a wall or something along those lines. Realistically, you're not going to gain a huge amount of time in the next 7 laps. So if you're not within a second at this point, you really have to weigh up the risk of doing further damage to your result for one extra position. It goes against everything that your racer brain is screaming at you to do, right? You want to push on and get to P1 and don't stop until you get there. But realistically, no one's catching Birtles at this point, and you'd be surprised, in the absence of any major incidents or mistakes here, you'd be surprised to see much of anything happen in terms of the change of order right now. This field's spread out pretty nicely. Which means they're also sitting outside of the slipstream and unlikely to be able to reel in too much distance down the straights, no matter how long they are.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to tyre wear really here. Who's looking after their tyres the best? Everyone pretty much pitted on the same lap as each other, so there's no one that's going to have heavy contact into the wall for McSweeney. That is going to leave a heavy amount of damage, and it does. You can see that on the graphic on our screen down the bottom. How much damage is covering. Some front right damage and some front bumper damage. That's going to leave him vulnerable here. The prying Stingray in behind. Look how much he's closed up. That was just so much curb in the second phase of that chicane that it just spat him in to the outside wall, the wall of champions. And now Stingray just around the outside. McSweeney pretty much knows he can't fight that one too hard and just really lets him go. There's a fair gap between Pakitas, well, not between Pakitas and K-Dot, but there is a bit of a gap between K-Dot and Wheeler behind. So hopefully, EJ won't lose too many positions, but you can tell he's walking wounded now.
I think maybe hoping to tuck in behind and try and offset a little bit of that aero damage and the subsequent reduction in pace, but just falling off the back already really does tell you just how much damage has occurred there. That wall is one of the most dangerous ones, I think, across any racetrack just about anywhere in the world. It's so easy to overcook that chicane and go nose first into it, and it really can bring your race completely undone. We're seeing that happen here. I reckon probably only another few laps, and it would have been maybe okay. He would have got away with it, but at the moment, I don't like DJ's chances of holding on to that 7th spot.
No, he's got Paquitas right in behind him as well, looking very, very racy this stage. So yeah, do not like your chances at all. He's going to have to work hard if he does want to hold on to it. Got fire squeals in the background as they push the limits of these cars across the curbs. And yeah, just really feel like he's going to just walk wounded. We've got on our screen at the moment Muller and a very experienced operator in AGT as well, running in 5th place at the moment. So doing well. Sort of a quiet achiever. Another quiet achiever at the moment is Ella. Was, I believe, on the 2nd row of the grid. Has capitalised on that early slowdown for Barton and has just sort of run away, as has all this front group really. They've just all sort of spread out, disappeared for themselves, and everyone's in a rhythm. A 35.4, the fastest lap of the race for Birtles, but he's doing 35.9s now, so he's a little bit away from that. Just staying in a rhythm, making sure that he's ticking the laps away and not making any mistakes.
Absolutely zero reason to push on and go for a 35 flat at this point. Has all of the pace in the world, all of the gap behind. You wouldn't want to bin it 5 laps from the end. This is just maintain and see it out now. There's no reason to push on. You can't even see 2nd place. Birtles has driven immaculately.
Really has. He's and that's what we see from him time and time again. He's a former champion of AGT, of course, so we expect nothing less from a man that knows what it takes to win a championship here. DJ is still holding off Paquitas, but he's even closer this time. Might fancy himself a look into this is a very bold place if he does go for a look into the chicane. I was going to say, if he gets a nice run through here, fancy himself a look into turn 1. Thought about it, but now we'll draw alongside after a really nice exit off of the chicane. And he'll pretty much walk past DJ on that one. Has the inside for turn 1, and that move is all but done. And DJ loses another spot. He continues to battle this damage that he sustained after making contact with world champions a couple of laps ago. And now, AGT K-Dot has started to close in on this group, so he's starting to fancy himself a look at the back as well, maybe. He's put in his best lap of the race on the previous lap, a 36.5. There's still a fair way off what Birtles is doing, but in the grand scheme of things, he's actually lapping pretty quick at the moment, a 37.8 on the previous lap for DJ for context. So almost 1.5 seconds quicker is K-Dot at the moment, and that just shows how much DJ is struggling with the extended damage on that car at the moment.
It's a balancing act, though, that you've got to weigh up, and a really awkward time for that damage to occur. I imagine the pit lane time for a repair probably about, 35 seconds here?
Roughly, yes.
At this point in the race, you're absolutely not going to take that risk of giving up 30 seconds, because that's your night absolutely done. The best thing that DJ can do here is to continue pushing on, continue defending, take full advantage of the slipstream up ahead if possible, but it's not a matter of if but when K-Dot catches up. Does DJ have enough left in that car to actually defend? I don't think so. There's so much damage to the front end that's quite clearly slowing them down, and with a track like this, you might get away with it at other tracks where it's perhaps not so high speed. But you come to Villeneuve, if you have any aero damage at all, it's going to be exposed.
Yeah, that's exactly it. With the nature of how this track is designed and the fast flowing corners, any aero damage will just pretty much amplify. There was a dirt kicked up from DJ as he tries to do the best he can to throw this car around the circuit and be as quick as possible. Not enough at this stage. This is Muller circuit out on his own. He's got a fair gap back to Stingray, who is trying to set after him. He is doing his best that he can to close him. We've got a handful of laps left in this race. Sideways from Stingray there. And look at them all getting a little bit sideways under power. Get the foot down. K-Dot, he's even closer this time. Will he have a look into the hairpin? Let's find out. Momentarily, he's not close enough this time to get anything done. Is even closer, and every single corner that DJ takes, he's struggling with rotation, and K-Dot is getting closer. It's only a matter of if, not when. That's of I think, I don't know if I got that right. Oh, I don't know.
It's not if, but when.
That's words are escaping me now as we come towards the final chicane. He doesn't look for an overtake there. That's very smart. Has ended in tears for multiple drivers tonight going for the overtake. But yes, a matter of not if, but when. I will get that right. Words are slowly coming back to me, I think, as we get to the back end of this race. There's been a lot happening. There's been a lot of action to keep up with.
Yeah, there really has, and this is one of those races where the leader is just out so far in front, you don't end up actually giving them anywhere near the screen time they deserve for such a dominant performance. But these mid-pack battles are so often where it's at from a pure enjoyment perspective. When you're watching these races, you get some drivers that are trying some really interesting moves. There goes Kadon up the inside. That was the when. It was never going to be the if. Now it's just up to DJ to try and hold on to ninth. I think with another couple laps still to come, there's a real risk of another position lost here. Doesn't have the pace to even think about trying to take this 8th spot back. Just really has to defend it so hard now. Needs to nail all of the lines, all of the apexes to try and hang on to this 9th spot.
And two laps to go. There's probably a 2 or 3 second gap back. The Wheeler behind, so it is a healthy gap for DJ to do something with. He just needs to work with K-Dot, stay in his slipstream a little bit here, and he might be able to make something happen. But have a look at our race leader on the second last lap. He really just is in a league of his own at the moment. 10 seconds clear of Sharky. He has got a massive gap to the car behind. Sharky, as such, 4 seconds it seems to Ella. The gap back to the back end of the podium. Another 4 seconds back to Barton. So these guys really just spread themselves out. Something has happened to Muller. Where is he? He's on the front straight. And he's sustained... Doesn't sustain damage, but he's a bunch of spots. He was in 5th place. He's just fallen down the order. So something has happened in the final chicane there. And that is unfortunate. He was running in 5th place, looking really, really strong. And thankfully, he hasn't sustained any damage, so the car seems to be okay, but a very strange one. Maybe a little bit too much curb in the final corner, on the final chicane, and just spun.
As always, everyone pushing on as hard as they can these last couple of laps to just try and close the gaps, make sure they can take advantage of any opportunities that lie ahead. I think the thing to watch for DJ at the moment, the lap times are probably a 1.5 seconds off what everyone else is doing at the moment. They've recovered a little, but there's plenty of 38s and almost 39s in there. That's about all it would take at this point to lose another spot to Wheeler. So gonna have to really dig deep here, use up everything that's left in those tyres to try and hold off this final attack. But Wheeler's got plenty of opportunities still ahead, and only one more lap, sure, but with so much extra pace around this circuit, I think it's going to come down to the final chicane.
It's certainly very well cool. We'll keep a very close eye on that. Obviously, Birtles well and truly into his final lap now. He has lapped, I believe that is actually George Smith. He's lapped George Smith, goes a lap down this race, unfortunately, but Birtles is so far out in front on this final lap. We will keep an eye on where he is. We'll check in with this battle with DJ and how he is going defending from Wheeler. They're only at the start of the lap. They are so far behind this. It just goes to show the pure pace that Caleb Birtles has had this evening as to how far ahead of everybody else that he is. Coming down towards the hairpin now, so almost to the end of his race. And these guys still trying to go for it. Has a little bit of a think about it as Wheeler, but he's not close enough on that occasion to make anything happen. Only a couple more opportunities in this race for Wheeler to make something happen. He's searching everywhere. DJ going defensive, trying to protect as best he can. Has a look to the outside now. Wheeler will try and stay with this for as long as we can. He runs wide. DJ on the run towards the hairpin. They're going to go side by side. We've got our race leader coming through the final corner. We will have to jump away. They are side by side, but Caleb Birtles will take the win. A very dominant victory here in race 1. We're going to jump back. They are side by side on the exit of the hairpin. Couldn't get the move done, Wheeler. Sharky will cross the line to come second, and Ella SK in third. But we're going to stay with this battle, ladies and gentlemen, because it is not done yet. There is one more opportunity for Wheeler, A good run out of the chicane. I wouldn't look for the move here into the chicane, but a nice run here might get it done. He has to carry a lot of speed. He does so much curb, a little bit too much curb, but gets it done. DJ in the end, he gets a half-second slowdown for his trouble, does Wheeler, so not happy at all. You can see the frustration as he crosses the line. Hopefully that didn't cost him a position in the end, but that is very frustrating for Wheeler to cop that right on the line. We'll jump over and have a look at the full results now. Oh, an exciting finish there for the back end of the top 10. And it is Caleb Birtles with a very dominant victory, 10.5 seconds over Sharky in second place. And then Ella in third. So a double podium for KPL in both divisions tonight, first and third for both KPL cars across Div 1 and Div 2. You can't script it if you tried. Barton in fourth place from Prying Stingray in the top 5 after a difficult qualifying session. Finds himself up into the top 5. So a wonderful result for him. He qualified 8th place in this race. So moved up 3 spots. That's very well done indeed. Pakitas in 6th, also moving up 3 spots. Then AGT K-Dot moving up 4 spots after qualifying in 11th. Art DJ carrying that damage at the end. Wheeler with that half-second slowdown will feel a little bit hard done by in the final corner, but had to throw something at it to get that done. Muller in 10th after that strange late race incident that lost him out on what would have been a very strong P5 result. Xander Strike in 11th. Xander Stewart in 12th. Then Manton 13th. Matt McCallum down the back of the field 14th. And Smith finishes a lap down in 15th. And Gopi Mahinajit, that technical difficulty in the tyre from the race. But what a result. What a race. What a finish, Jared Cole, that was to a very exciting Div 1 race.
We probably just missed what was a fairly contentious defensive move through the hairpin from DJ, because that's about the only way that he managed to come out ahead of Wheeler there and hold on for 8th spot. Brilliant bit of defensive driving, no doubt, and really did carry that damage home. But the night certainly does belong to Birtles. Dominant display despite being amongst some very, very stiff competition. Made it look like an absolute cakewalk.
He certainly did. He really just walked away with that. And we're going to hope that... I'd love to see him continue to do well, but I really hope that's not a teaser for what we're going to see this season, which is Birtles walking into the distance. I would love to see some close battles at the front of the field, but we can only hope that is round 1. Done and dusted. Jared Cole, thank you so much for jumping in the booth with me this week. I don't know if it was your first time jumping into GT7, but I know it's not a game, not a platform that you've had too much experience in, so it's been an absolute pleasure to have you alongside me and to get to know these drivers and really get into some Gran Turismo action tonight, because it's actually, they've put on a good display for you tonight. They must have known you were coming.
Really have, and appreciate the opportunity to get involved and check it out. I'll certainly be keeping an eye on the series over the next couple of months or so that it's all running, and who knows, I might get an opportunity to pop back into the booth.
Yeah, well, we look forward to hopefully having you in the booth. Obviously 7 more rounds, 8-round season, so we've got 8 weeks of racing, 8 weeks in a row. So we're back next week at probably a very similar time if you're watching this broadcast to go racing at Catalunya with no chicane. So the old F1, or now that's a new again, so it's current F1 style layout at Catalunya. That's 22 laps that will be next week. But for now, that is all. We thank you for your company this evening. We appreciate each and every one of you tuning in and checking it out. Make sure you share it around. Again, we thank our series sponsors, Sheet Metal Mafia, AM Weight Designs, and of course, our title series sponsor, Precise Lubrication. We thank them for coming on board this season and being a part of the broadcast. Sorry, I'm really talking so much that my body's struggling to intake air as I talk. But we thank you again for having us. As always, I've been Isaac Foggy. I've had Jared Cole alongside me this evening. Stay safe. Have a good week. We'll see you this time next week. But until then, it's bye for now.